Screon, Gay Godzilla Movie Marathon, where we're stomping through Godzilla's filmography. I'm Derek, and I've seen all the Godzilla movies.
And I'm Doug, and I've seen 20 Godzilla movies and one really cool submarine movie.
What a swing. We're talking about the sci-fi military film from the Showa era of Toho that I promise truly does have ties to the Godzilla movie universe. Like, I swear to God it does.
I cannot wait.
We are, of course, talking about Atragon, also known as Kaite Gunken, which translates to the undersea warship, Atragon, and also Atragon Flying Super Sub, which is how it was originally released in international markets. We're going to talk about the title stuff because the title stuff for this movie is bananas. And I'm sure you're sort of like, why is this called Atragon? It was released in Japan on December 22nd, 1963, directed by Ishirō Honda, written by Shinichi Sekizawa, based on the novel The Undersea Warship by Shunro Oshikawa, with characters inspired by the book The Undersea Kingdom by Shigeru Komatsuzaki.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. Produced by Tomoyuki Tanaka, score by Akira Ifukube. We'd like to take a quick moment to thank our spectacular patrons, Bo, Carl, Katie, Jason, Zoe, James, Keith, Cody, Toby, Hamish, Blake, Jace, Jojak, David, and Chelsea.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was my first time watching this movie too. And I sort of kind of knew what I was getting into. But honestly, probably not that much more than you did. This was like a late edition like thing to the schedule. Cause for the long time I honestly kept forgetting that this movie even existed because I hadn't seen it until I was kind of reminded. One of our frequent emailers that we've referenced, in the past, Robert, I think went in one of the emails just like mentioned, like asking, like, are you going to do Atragon too? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, we should fucking do that. I haven't seen it. And I know that there's elements of that movie that are in future Godzilla movies, so we can do it. But honestly, like the only thing I really knew about this is I knew Manda was in it, and I knew about the submarine, the Gotengo was in it. That's really the only thing I knew. I didn't know fucking anything else about this movie. So like in a very similar boat as you, except I'm sure, I think you probably didn't know about those two elements that I did know about.
No. No, I did not.
Yeah. What do you think?
Okay. I have a few things right off the bat. One, I'm like not that confused about why it's called Atragon, so I'll be excited to talk about that.
Okay.
Two, remember a couple episodes ago when we were talking about Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and I was like, I know I'm not being pranked, but I feel like the feeling of being pranked because I'm like seeing a bigger picture. This time I like actually feel pranked because why Atragon? Why is it so similar to monster names? Why did I think it was a monster? Oh, because every other thing is a monster. And it makes me want to go back and see how you asked the question, because I have to imagine you didn't say like anything about you couldn't have said anything about Atragon being a monster, so you had to have just been like, what do you know about Atragon? And I just assumed that we were talking about a monster, which is hilarious.
I love that. That was one of those things. I got like a question recently on one of those like anonymous like question things on Blue Sky, and someone had asked like what my favorite predictions of yours have been, and we hadn't recorded it this yet, obviously, so I couldn't say it, but like one of my favorite ones is just you just running with the concept of Atragon being a name for a monster, which makes total sense. Why would
anyone think it wasn't?
It makes total sense, and I think that is a common thing that people think that Manda's name is Atragon because that's what they associate him with, and there are reasons for why that name exists. We'll talk about it, but like it's very funny. It is very funny. That's the title.
It's one of those things where it's sort of like, hey, I'm going to teach you sort of like the elements of this sort of franchise, and then you're going to make predictions based on what you know. But this is one where like it's like a false bit of information. Like a word that I thought was part of the language, but is like something totally different. Yeah. So there's that. But then like overall thoughts. Derek, this movie fucks.
It's so good.
I love this movie.
Especially, we've done more Screonks than usual this month because we have 3 episodes, which is unusual for a monthly podcast.
Yeah.
So we just last week we had an episode on Varen.
Yeah.
And when you put this movie up against Varen, oh boy, it is like it's like the movies are back, baby. This is pure cinema. One of the best that's ever been made. Like Yeah, like especially when you put up against Varen, but even taking the Varen of it all out of it, this movie fucks. Like, it's so good.
Oh yeah, it fucks all on its own. It's just so funny being right after Varen, because if you all haven't listened to the Varen one, like the big thing is like I just had nothing to say because I was bored. This one, it's impossible to be bored. There's just stuff happening all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like good.
Yeah, it's a fascinating movie. It feels like a really unique and original movie too. It's like, oh god,
I love it. I love it. And this came out the same year as Matango. What a fucking year. It's crazy. A great year for science fiction films directed by Ishirō Honda. One of the best who ever did it. Like, honestly. Yeah, he also directed Varen under very different circumstances, but he also directed fucking Atragon. So like, everything's great. Exactly.
Yeah. The origins of this movie are based in a couple of books, actually. So the most important book here is the book entitled The Undersea Warship, A Fantastic Tale of Island Adventure. That's the translated title. It was a Japanese novel. It was a militaristic adventure novel written in 1899 by Shunro Oshikawa, who was like a pioneer of Japanese science fiction. So he's a name that we in America maybe aren't necessarily as familiar with, but for Japan, that he was a major important science fiction writer who invented a lot of science fiction concepts that would be, persistent in Japanese science fiction going forward, right down to this movie, Mm-hmm. What's interesting about this book, and this is sort of the sort of political context that I will struggle with communicating the information of, because I'm obviously not an expert in Japanese culture and history. So this is another one. I think I had one of these disclaimers in the Varen episode as well. Like, if you're someone who is an expert or historian in Japanese culture and history, I welcome your feedback and information. I'd love to learn more about this. I'm just going to be presenting the most basic, bare bones overviews that I think are useful, that I have learned from reading books about Godzilla and kaiju movies. A lot of this comes from Ishirō Honda's biography. And a lot of this stuff is just, on Wikipedia and Wikizilla and stuff like that as well. But Ishirō Honda's biography was very, very helpful in, I think, understanding some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So this book, The Undersea Warship, it was when in 1899, when it was originally published, this was during, I think, a pretty widespread conservative backlash against what was sort of this sort of new Western influence on Japan, and also between military victories over Russia and China. So there is a very particular nationalistic spirit in Japan at the time. They've been victorious over other, military conflicts that they've had with other countries. And also they're like, fuck Western influence. We don't want it. Celebrate Japan and Japanese culture.
Sure.
So the most basic synopsis for this book is going to sound really familiar. The novel's protagonist is an exiled naval officer and idealistic engineering genius who's devoted to the samurai ethic and dedicated to establishing Japan as a major world order. At a secret base in a small Pacific island, he and his forces construct a super submarine that rams pirate ships with a drill. So
oh my God,
you can see how those elements, end up in this movie.
Absolutely.
Right. So, and a lot of that was sort of borrowed from Captain Nemo stories and like Jules Verne books,
sure.
Like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, for example. So there's all there. It's funny because there are Western influences on this book that's also kind of criticizing Japan having Western influences, which is very funny. So Shinichi Sekizawa and Ishirō Honda already liked this book. They are science fiction fans, and this is a classic science fiction book in Japan. So they wanted to adapt the book. Toho, however, wants it, whatever they do, to be set in modern day. So they can't do a period piece set in the time period that the book takes place in. So to contemporize it, and because this book is like kind of fiercely like political, they sort of look at the views of the military that are happening in Japan at this time in the early 1960s, which leads us to another important book that I think influences this, or not influences the movie, but is sort of like an important book that's causing cultural conversation conversations about how Japan views nationalism in the military. This is a book that was published in 1963 called Affirmation of the Greater East Asian War, which is what even at the time was a very controversial book by novelist Fusayo Hayashi that basically was all about reaffirming the old belief that Japan's brutal military conquests were a just and noble effort.
Oh, wow.
And as wartime slogans declared, to liberate the Asian people from the Western powers. So a lot of the sort of nationalism that they were dealing with in the 1890s is kind of in a different way and for different reasons resurfacing in this sort of post-World War II era, in certain subcultures in Japan, right? And I think it's important to remember, like we talked about this in the Mothra versus Godzilla episode, that like there was a sort of economic boom and technological boom that was happening in the 1960s for Japan, and that was influencing a lot in the movies. But I think for a lot of people, they're sort of seeing it like Japan is healing from this terrible war that we went through that decimated our country, and it was a war that we lost, and like that, and then we had an occupation from America, like right after that, like all of that trauma that we've been processing over this time. Finally, it's sort of like our country is healing and rebuilding, and we're at a so much better place. And again, having this economic boom where everything is going great. So you have like that mindset, which is the mindset that I think that Sekizawa and Honda are sort of along the lines of. But then you also have this sort of conservative culture that's sort of like, no, we're wrong. We shouldn't be sort of adopting any sort of Western ideals or help or anything. We should like fucking fight back, like start a war, like take down and become like the ruling superpower because we deserve it, right? There's like reports of like Japanese holdouts, like on like Pacific Islands, for example, that like some of them didn't even know that the war had ended.
Yeah,
or,
that's
like,
just always so fascinating to me.
Isn't that fucking wild? They're sort of like, no, the war's still going on. Are you kidding me? They are still our enemies. They are not our allies. Like that shit was happening. There's like, and there's some sources that cite Sekizawa being inspired by a terrorist group called Shindo Renmei that was active in Brazil, that was specifically like Japanese people in Brazil or Japanese Brazilians who believed that Japan should not have surrendered and should have won the war and were like committing terrorist acts under those ideas, right?
Yeah.
So I think all of that stuff is sort of stewing up, basically coming down to this idea of like these really like militaristic nationalist ideas of Japan needing to be this superpower that I think Honda and Sekizawa, I think, are sort of like, it feels weird and almost like I don't know, kind of anachronistic in a weird way, that it's sort of like, we're 20 years out almost from World War II at this point. Why do you still have this mindset that Japan shouldn't have surrendered? Like, why haven't you gotten over that yet?
Yeah. Well, and given how much of, Honda's art especially explores just generally like the post World War II state of Japan and all that. Like, it's got to be such a fascinating thing for him to see. I mean, it's not that different than like any other sort of like resurgence of a movement that like had, like negative effects on like a whole group of people or something, and then those people still being alive long enough to see that ideal sort of rise back up or whatever.
Right. And and Honda is like famously very anti-war. So like it has to be so sad but also fascinating to him to be someone who is like a pacifist and anti-war, seeing someone who wants to start war up again. Yeah. Like, it's sort of like, that seems like the worst thing a person could do. It's sort of like, no, we're literally not in war. That's the thing we don't want to do. Why would you be a proponent of Japan going to war again in any scenario, much less starting a war to like take over the world essentially? Like, why would anyone, like, it has to be so fucking weird for Honda to experience that. And of course he'd want to, kind of process those ideas and feelings through the art that he's making.
Well, and imagine making art about that, or your pacifism making its way into what you make art about. And then this happens and you're like, well, now like there's got to be a feeling of like, my art's not working, so now I need to like make art commenting on that, like it's so interesting, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, and I think too, the other thing that's just kind of cool and smart is sort of like, if they have to adapt a novel from a certain time period and contemporize it, one way that they can kind of deal with like the anachronisms of it is by making a core part of the story be about characters who themselves are kind of anachronistic in a way, if that makes sense, because you're like one of the core characters, his motivation is that like he's just stuck in this war that has been over for 2 decades at this point, but he's still sort of stuck in that time period of sort of like, nope. It's not over for us. We've got to keep it going. We got to keep it moving. We've got to still make this piece of equipment that's going to make us a superpower again. And like, so they sort of embrace the anachronism of contemporizing the story, you know, in that way. I think it's just a really smart idea that like he specifically is a character that is out of time now. Yeah. And like that character is no longer the protagonist. He's actually kind of an antagonistic figure who has to learn from the main protagonists who are existing in contemporary times.
I think that's the coolest thing about it, right?
Yeah.
Taking that shift in what that character represents or who that character is in the story. I love, not the protagonist anymore. That's such a cool way to think about how they did that.
It's very, very cool. And I think it works so well. It works so well in this movie, making that change.
Yeah.
And making that change in perspective. The other thing that wasn't present in the book, the original undersea warship book, was like the undersea civilization aspect of it. And I think because, you know, who the protagonists and antagonists are have kind of shifted, they did sort of need there to be some other kind of inciting incident or like villain or antagonist or reason for anything in this movie to happen, right?
Sure.
So they sort of invent another civilization to sort of spark the need for some kind of war or war machines. The idea of an under civilization as the main antagonist, they weren't just looking at like Atlantis lore or anything. They actually were riffing on an actual legend of Mu that is a real legend. It's a legend of a sunken continent in the Pacific that was popularized by a British occult writer, James Churchward, in the 1920s. So that was a pre-existing lore that they were picking up on. I don't think that they were riffing on specific things that he did.
Sure.
What they were specifically referencing was a children's story written by production illustrator Shigeru Komatsuzaki, who wrote The Undersea Kingdom, which isn't necessarily like authentic to the legend, but was using ideas of that legend to like write this children's story about an undersea kingdom, essentially.
Wow.
Right. So a lot of the aesthetic of Mu as a kingdom undersea like comes from this children's story, which is why it's a sort of interesting, sort of fantastical kind of idea.
Yeah. I mean, the pieces work so well together. So
it's really, I mean,
so
what
impressive.
What a stroke of genius though, to be like, we got an undersea warship. What about an undersea kingdom too? Like, there you go.
Yeah.
And, like, it works. It doesn't feel like it's like stuck together out of nothing, you know?
No, all the pieces fit together like they were meant to be together.
Yeah, but I mean, like once they kind of figure that out script wise, I think things generally go really well. The schedule was pretty short for it, is the only thing that I think affected this movie, specifically because once they kind of figured out the script, it was in September, and Toho was like, we need to release this shit in December. So they have like 3.5 months to do this. So that does cause them to scale back some stuff. Like there is more that they wanted this movie to be even bigger than it was, which I think the movie is already plenty big. So like, I don't think this movie feels too small.
No.
But there are some things that they want to do. They wanted to like, there's just like, for example, they like reference like the Mu destroying New York, but like we don't see it. They did want to actually show that.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. Honda also had wanted to, I think, show a little bit more of Mu as a kingdom too. He kind of wanted to deepen them a little bit and show a little more complexity, because like as it stands, we really just see like the leaders of them and the people that are the actual antagonists and the agents and the soldiers and stuff. He specifically said he wanted to show more like towns and residential areas just to like at least flesh them out a little bit, because then, you know, because I do think the end of this movie where they're all spoiler, they're fucking genocided to shit, is not presented as good. It is presented as a tragic, sad, upsetting ending, and I think it would be even more upsetting if you just showed like towns and residential areas, probably with families and children in them. And I think he wanted to make that apparent, that this is a real thriving, living, you know, civilization that exists underwater that ends up getting destroyed, and how tragic that is. And they just have to cut a lot of that stuff out just for budget.
That is a bummer. The New York thing would have been cool to see, but like whatever. That I do think would have benefited the movie pretty greatly.
Yeah, I think it would have too, because unfortunately I do think, as cool as the Mu are, they are very villainous villains. Like there really isn't any depth to them or shades of gray or anything. I think the movie still works despite that.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been, I think they would have hammered in their point better about like how fucked up war is in any scenario, no matter who starts it.
Right.
If you made it very clear that like, no, when we say this is a living, thriving civilization, it really is like a civilization probably full of innocent people, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, we'll talk about the ending for that as we go along. Let's talk about the name a little bit, because it is actually really fascinating.
Okay.
The title of this movie. So the Japanese title initially, and I think still officially as the Japanese title, it is just translated to the Undersea Warship. It is just the same title as the book that they are basing it on. So it is just like any book adaptation would be. That's just what it is.
Sure.
Toho, however, for the international release, created the title Atragon for international markets. Their idea being that they wanted to create this sort of portmanteau of either Atomic Dragon or Atlantis Dragon, depending on the source. Yeah.
So it is a creature name.
This is where it gets funny. This is where it gets funny and weird. I think their idea is sort of like, the creatures are always appealing to international markets. We want to have a creature name in the title because that always does pretty well.
Yeah.
So let's put, even though Manda isn't a huge part of this movie, we can make him the face of the movie for international markets, especially because like this movie is so much about Japanese culture and Japanese politics and Japanese history. That's not going to necessarily be as appealing in the marketing for international markets. So you fucking hammer in the monster part that's in it, make it look like it's a kaiju movie to trick people to come in to see like a Japanese military movie that has like very political things to say.
Yeah.
I think that totally makes sense from a marketing perspective. So I think that's a smart move. The US, when it gets to the US, shortens that title to Atragon, just because I think they just like the fewer syllables. And I think Atragon is a beautiful sounding name.
Yeah,
so
it's great.
I think that totally makes sense. However, the problem comes when the dub and promotional materials change the name of the Gotengo to the Atragon. So, and then Manda's name is kept as Manda. So the Atlantis Dragon is not given to the name of the dragon. The Atlantis Dragon name is given to the warship. So that's how it's referred to. But then future releases, like other dubs and other subs, revert the name to the Gotengo, not Atragon. So I think like the version that we probably watched, I think it uses both. Like it refers to it both at different points.
But that's why
I think that is sort of the middle ground, but there's other like dubs that you can watch where it is the word Atragon is never spoken. They just say Gotengo in it, which means that there are a lot of people who are familiar, that their familiarity with this movie is like, why the fuck is it called Atragon? There's Manda, there's Gotengo. What the fuck is Atragon? You know?
Okay. Yeah. The one that I watched uses both Atragon and Gotengo. Right. So
I think that's fair. I think that is the perfect middle ground to get both of them in there, and it's fine.
But it's also like, well, one, I didn't even know why people would specifically be confused outside of them using two different names. But when I was watching it, I also just kind of assumed like, oh, like Atragon is like the name of like the plan, the grand plan or whatever. And then when they actually made the thing, they named the ship Gotengo. So like, that's just, I don't know why I put the pieces together, but that's just kind of how I assumed it worked. I had no idea that Atragon was even supposed to be anything else. Wow.
Yeah, it's very funny. It's very funny.
I'm still going to operate that way. I like the idea of like a plan Atragon, and then Gotengo's the ship, and they could plan Atragon could be several more of these ships with other names. Yeah.
And like that has become Toho's like accepted official title is that shortened Atragon anyway. It's just funny. It's just a funny story.
Yeah. That's so fascinating.
We only have one monster in this movie, but I think we should talk about both Manda and the Gotengo. I'm talking about the Gotengo almost as if it's a monster.
Sure.
Because that's sort of like its prime special effect, just like a monster would be, right? Which do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about Manda, because I don't think there's that much. I mean, I have thoughts about Manda, but I feel like Manda's a small. I guess what I'm saying is Manda's a smaller part of the movie than Gotengo.
Right. Cool monster, though. There is some debate as to when Manda like entered the story, because it is a serpent monster of any kind is not present in either the Undersea Kingdom or Undersea Battleship. It is invented for this movie. The most likely scenario is just that like Tanaka was sort of like, People like monsters. Put a monster in your movie.
Yeah.
And so they put a monster in the movie, which is fine. Manda was originally envisioned as a giant rattlesnake, given the name like mammoth snake or mammoth serpent.
Okay.
Which I think makes sense. If you want to see some cool ass concept art.
Always. Ooh. Oh, it like truly is just like
Truly.
a snake.
I mean, in
like
a way.
a massive snake, but a snake.
Yeah. Like literally just a big snake. Like that's what it would have been,
Yeah.
which I think is fine. I think maybe what they went with at least lets it be a little more original because it is interesting that he's like an undersea noodle dragon,
Oh,
you know?
I like it a lot better the way that they and where they ended. I like it better being a dragon and having a distinct sort of creature design to it. I think it makes, in my head, it makes a lot more sense for it to be a unique creature than just a huge creature.
It makes it feel more magical, too. The reason that it changes to a dragon really is just because the upcoming year, 1964, which, you know, this movie comes out in 1963, but the end of it, so it was going to be mostly running through 64, was the year of the dragon. So Toho's like, let's celebrate that by making the monster a dragon.
Hell
that
yeah.
makes it different. Manda comes from that, though, that original like mammoth serpent name when they were originally going to call him that, Mamosuda. That's mammoth serpent. They just shortened that to Manda. So he still kind of retains the sort of serpentine name.
Yeah.
One thing that's really interesting about him, that's really unusual for Toho Kaiju, especially at this point, cat eyes.
Yeah.
The cat eyes. Like no other fucking monster around this time has that.
Yeah, they're really striking, especially because most of the time when you see Manda, it's pretty obscured by being underwater or, you know, just the way that they're shooting things. But its eyes are always like very visible because they are like bright yellow. They kind of like glow. Yeah. So it's really, really striking.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. They built 10 different Manda props.
10?
I think because it's just a puppet. Like this isn't a guy in a suit thing. So I think they have to have a bunch of them for different sizes depending on the shot. And I think the sort of like, you know, they're not literally shooting underwater. They're shooting it through like filters, the camera filters and like smoke to make things look like water. Right.
Yeah.
But because they have to do it because he's constantly like floating, you know, because he's swimming in water. Like I think it probably was just easier to build multiple different props of different sizes, just to get the scale right, depending on what they had to do. But yeah, there are 10 different ones. They range in size from like 5 meters to 20 centimeters size wise. Yeah. So they had like little tiny ones. The 5 meter one had a radio controlled jaw as well that they can move. Yeah.
5 meters. That's like a 15 foot monster.
Meters, 2 feet.
The meter's about 3. It's not exact.
Yeah, you're right. It's about 15 feet, which makes sense because there was a Gotengo model the same size. So they still like that. The biggest one was about 15 feet long, which is a substantially big. I mean, 15 feet is big.
That's big.
Yeah, that's really big. But I think the reason they had to do that was for scale to make it look substantial on camera, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I do think you can tell when it's a little itty bitty 20 centimeter dude.
Yeah.
20. How many inches is that? That's like, let's see.
Definitely less than a foot. I'm pretty sure.
That's 7 inches. 7 inches. That's so cute. 7 inches.
Guy.
Yeah. So like, you know, but you can tell when it's a little 7-incher, right? In the water.
Yeah.
But it does look, they look huge when they're like almost like not life size, but like people size, you know?
Right.
And I think that helps the movie like feel more effective. Some of the smaller props do show up in a couple of Ultra Q episodes, which is fun. So they do recycle these props. And his growls were derived from lions.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Strange for an underwater creature, but cool.
Sure. Yeah. That's all I got design wise. What do you think of this guy?
I think Manda's cool. I think I mean it's not like a wildly like inventive underwater serpent dragon design, but also I haven't seen one yet in this franchise like that. So I think it's cool. And I think those sort of long dragons, especially ones that have like legs, because they tend to be really spread apart, is always a fun thing. Mostly I just like that Manda is a monster in this movie, but similar to the way that they shifted the like undersea captain from protagonist to antagonist, they kind of shifted the monster here from like foreground to background almost. Like it's not like its own thing really. It's like a creature that is part of the society or imprisoned by the society or whatever, however you want to look at it, or has some sort of connection to the Empress, but like it's not the main antagonist in any way. It's I don't know, there's something cool about that. It's like in a franchise where monsters really kind of often represent something specific or serve a specific role similar to the last one and the next one, Manda really is just a totally different type of monster and serves a totally different purpose.
Yeah, he's just an obstacle ultimately. And I think a way to make the Mu feel even more like alien, for lack of a better word, you know, like they feel even more like unique and different, that like, you know, and what makes this war that's being fought feel distinct from any other war Japan has fought, because they're literally fighting like magical undersea evil with a water dragon, you know, like.
Well, yeah. It's cool. You have the undersea military group and their submarine versus the undersea civilization and their dragon. Like there's parallels, but you know, it's the just totally different thing, like different vibes, they represent different things aesthetically. Obviously they match that. It's cool. And Manda clearly is like important, I think, to either the culture or at least sort of the top piece of the hierarchy of the culture, because one of their ships has like a weapon that is, I think, supposed to be modeled after Manda.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The sort of serpentine dragon.
Yeah, that like gold thing. Death ray thing. Yeah.
It's really, I mean, I fucking love that.
It's just like an extremely so cool. ornate gun, you know, which
really
I think is cool. I mean, their technology looks pretty different. And so it's cool that like Manda ends up being part of their technological aesthetic. It's neat.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really, really cool. Yeah, no, I like it. And I think that they use the noodle dragon serpentine aspect of him really well, in that he can like fucking wrap around submarines. And it's, I think there's something uniquely frightening about like any sort of like Leviathan or sea serpent type creature wrapping around a ship underwater. Like, it's so scary.
Well, I mean, I think just wrapping around any ship because it could bring you underwater, the fact that you're already underwater is terrifying. Like, it's, I mean, submarines in general are so scary because you're already surrounded by water. So then to like lose your mobility in that situation is like, oh God, it's so scary. It's so scary.
Yeah. No, it's good. And it just looks really good.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
Like I really love the Manda prop a lot.
Me too.
Yeah. Cool dude. What are the Gotengo? Let's talk about that a little bit, because I know that's not a monster, but like it kind of is. This movie is kaiju in a way. That's so focused on the name roughly translates to roaring heavens in English.
Sure.
With the Go designating it as a ship. I fucking love that. Roaring heavens. Golden Go, right? That's from Pokemon.
Yeah.
Isn't that his name?
Golden Go. Yeah.
That's definitely a riff on this guy. Like, because it's a fucking popular ship. So
yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I think Golden Go is absolutely a riff on this.
Huh.
That's just my guess.
Yeah. Well,
cuff,
I mean, I wouldn't have,
sure.
I wouldn't have thought of it because I wouldn't have known the Gotengo when Golden Go
it has to be.
Yeah, I get. Yeah. I guess I don't. I've never thought about what Golden Go would be otherwise. So.
Yeah, I think it totally is. 5 models of it were built.
Okay.
For this film. They use steel hulls for supporting their internal mechanisms. So this is these are heavy ass props. The largest, like with Manda, was about 15 feet long and was manufactured by an actual shipbuilding company.
I mean, you almost would have to, I feel like, if the 15 feet for a submarine prop is massive.
It's just an actual fucking boat. Like, it's really what they built. Like, it was, and the 15 feet long version, fully operational. I mean, as fully operational as it could be, but it has wings, fins, gun turrets, bridge, and drill are all movable by remote radio control devices built into the hull, and it was large enough for a technician to lie inside the hull and manually operate some of its movable parts for scenes.
Honestly, it's more like a kaiju in that regard than Manda is.
It is. Yeah, Yeah, this is more suitmation than the Manda puppet.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's so fucking cool. Yeah. The big one was used obviously for like really in necessary scale. For example, the initial scene of it surfacing, that was done without any composition. Like that is what that looks like on screen is what they filmed without changing anything. And I think that's what you're able to do with a giant prop like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed with how little compositing there is or that shows, and that makes a lot of sense that they wouldn't have to do it with that one, so obviously it wouldn't show.
Yeah. For that one specifically, the model was attached to an underwater crane that kind of forced it through the surface of the pool that they were in. And then they use high speed photography, with the camera cranking at 10 times normal speed for it to, I guess look even, then I guess they could slow it down afterwards. So it made it look even more gargantuan.
Sure.
Once they slowed down that footage, I think.
Well, it probably makes the gravity feel different, I would think.
Yeah. I think so, because that's like sort of the same method that they use for kaiju often. Again, it's sort of like shot like a kaiju, right? When it's flying, they use a 2-meter model suspended by wires. That was also filmed at higher speed. They used air jets at the bottom to create sort of the illusion of upward propulsion.
Oh,
so
sure.
It's still, yeah. The smallest model, 11 inches.
Oh,
so cute. It was mainly used as like water tank shots for it to like show it cruising on the surface, right? So
gotcha.
I think for that one they would attach a small mechanical arm like beneath the water line. Yeah. It's very cute.
I like that underwater puppet.
Yeah. I don't know. This thing's fucking cool as shit, dude. Like, it's a flying submarine with a drill. Like, what more can you ask for, really?
It's wild. It's a submarine and an airship, which is very cool.
It's like some Final Fantasy ass shit, man. Like, it's so cool.
It really is. It really is. And the fact that it has so many moving parts is really cool. I mean, the drill is something that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've even with the Last Dinosaur saw like a weird drill sort of ship thing. But this one's cool.
It's also not called, what was that called? The rural juror, whatever it was fucking called.
I don't even know.
I don't even remember, but some mouthful of a name.
Yeah.
The oral borer, the polar borer.
Polar borer. Right.
Oh god, that movie sucks so bad.
It's really bad. We talked about that, I think, on Patreon.
Yeah, check out the Patreon for that. It's a fun episode. We're so mad at the movie.
But this one's really cool because, like, yeah, we've seen a drill before, but one, this drill is massive. Two, it has like an additional piece on it that serves as both like a little sort of like ramming thing, but also is where it shoots sort of like a freezing ray mist thing.
Yeah.
But what I think is the coolest is like not even the drill, not even the wings. There are these like additional almost like buzzsaw / like traction type things that come out towards the front, like kind of still on the nose behind the drill, that have some sort of movement that make it feel like it would assist the thing when it's burrowing. So like it has the drill obviously making the hole, but then it has these other things, I don't even know what to call them, that I think would sort of like propel it through like rock and stuff, through like friction against whatever these like grindy saw things are.
Yeah. Oh, that's fucking,
I don't know what they are, cool. And I think that's maybe why I think it's so cool.
Yeah. I don't know. It's cool. And I'm not normally a huge like vehicle guy, I love like I love like vehicles that look like giant dinosaurs and shit. But this thing, like, I don't know. It's just because it's just so much, and I think that they just utilize it really well in this movie and shoot it really well. And just like, yeah, I fucking dig it. I want a toy of this.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's just like unlike anything I've seen.
All right. Let us talk about our cast.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, we've talked about movies sometimes that it's sort of like, well, this is so many Toho actors. This one truly, like, it's just an absolute murderer's row of people we've seen before, people we fucking love and haven't seen in a while.
That's the thing, is I was watching this movie and like, yeah, we recognize people, but this movie in particular, I kept being like, it's another one of my guys. Another one of my guys is in this movie. All my guys are here.
Yeah, and even like the couple of new people that are in here are like good. So like,
yeah.
Okay. What a cast. Okay. Just to run through them. Are sort of one of our one of our lead dude protagonists, the photographer Susumu Hatanaka. Tadao Takashima, we have seen him before in the lead roles in King Kong vs. Godzilla, Frankenstein vs. Baragon, Son of Godzilla, etc. He's good. He's always good.
Yeah.
I dig him.
Yeah. No, he's always solid. Yeah.
Our female lead, Makoto Jinguji, who is our, again, beautiful love interest, Yoko Fujiyama. She's been around, but this is one of her bigger roles at this point. I think, actually, in general, this ends up being one of her bigger roles. But she would show up in Dogura and Kurosawa's Redbeard. So, you know, she gets to do some great things, even though she doesn't have a huge career.
Yeah, I have a question for you. And the answer might literally just be like misogyny, maybe. I don't really know. But like, there are so many of these players that show up over and over and over, but for the most part, it's the men that show up over and over, and including the lead men, right? So like, it's not just the background guys that show up over and over. Like, you know, Tadao Takashima is showing up over and over. Kenji Sahara is showing up over and over. The women seem to not do that, with like a couple exceptions. Is it because they aren't like, some of them get there kind of through unconventional ways, so they're not like Toho contract actors, or like, is that the big difference?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, because like Kumi Mizuno certainly was like a contract actor.
Right.
She did so many. But like, I agree with you, though. It's the thing that I've noticed too, and I don't know that I have a good answer. But I think in a lot of cases, like, it's not just that they don't do many Toho movies, it's just they don't do many movies in general. So I think it could certainly be that I think it's just a really, I think it maybe is uniquely competitive for women, which is, you know, where it's like, you have to be young,
significantly fewer parts.
Right. There's simply fewer parts, and like, you have to be young and beautiful. And if you don't knock it out of the park or whatever, like, you know, or I don't know. I think that they probably have to work harder to get under contract because there's so much fewer parts. And Toho probably is more like, or we can just like, not to frame it this way, but they are still a corporation. I'm sure that they're willing to just take advantage of young actors. Sure. And there's tons of women who would love to act in like one part per movie. So it's like, we'll just get a new one every time and underpay them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that that's what happened, but I also would not. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Or, I mean, it's entirely, again, this is just as much speculation, but it's entirely possible that like, there's a total double standard of like, well, we have to keep our female leads like as young and as fresh as possible. Who cares if the guy's age?
I think that is also a total possibility for sure. Yeah. One of the other like kind of protagonists, the funny, which one do you want to go to? Because there's so many places.
Like, there are plenty of these actors now at this point that I'm going to be like, my guy. I love Yu Fujiki so much. Yu Fujiki, like, I don't know what it is about him. I love him so much. Like, every time I see him in something, he's such a joy. He's the egg guy from fucking Mothra versus Godzilla. The egg guy, yep. He's also...
That's also how I had him listed in my notes. He's the egg guy.
Yeah, he's the egg guy. He's also part of the same duo, I think, with Tadao Takashima in King Kong versus Godzilla. And, like... I know a little bit more about him than I think I do other actors sometimes. I know that like he wasn't always doing sort of like comedy or like comedic relief type roles, but I love him so much in them. Like he kind of just has his characters, I should say. I don't know what he is like, but the characters we've seen of him so far just have this sort of like idiot dad vibe that I love him so much. And it's so funny because he's like almost a decade younger than I am when he's in these movies, but he still has like this kind of like doofy dad vibe that's so charming and dumb. I love it. I love him so much.
Yeah, and he's really fun. I mean, in a movie, and like this movie is it's not like uber dark or whatever, but like it's a pretty serious movie, even as kind of colorful and big as things are. Yeah. So it's fun to have like it's fun because he's not like comic relief in this traditional sense that we're often looking for, but he's a fun dose of like of fun and like sort of like
largely because he's jumpy. Like a lot of it is sort of like he is portrayed as like the most out of his element or like the most sort of nervous about things. And they mine comedy from that in a movie that really doesn't take opportunities to be like full on silly.
Yeah. And I love that like the two lead dudes are just like two photographers. Like,
yeah. I know. It's so great. They're such a fun duo. I mean, we've seen them twice now as a duo. And I love Yoshido's hat. He has a couple hats. And he wears it backwards at one point. I'm like, yes.
It's so good.
I love him so much. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
it's
He's
fun.
one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's totally great. It's one of those where it's like we should see you more.
I agree.
Yeah. A couple others. Ken Uehara plays Rear Admiral Kasumi. He's the good military guy that we see them. It's interesting. We've seen him previously, like in other stuff, but like in not huge roles, like always kind of supporting Toho things. Like we saw him in Mothra, for example, as like a radiation specialist or whatever, right? Like it's a guy you might remember his face, but like he wasn't in huge roles. For us at least, he has literally been in like 200 movies. So like he has had a career, just not in a lot of stuff that we've necessarily seen. Some things that jumped out to me, like he was in the 80s live action adaptation of The Girl Who Leapt Through Time.
Oh, wow.
He was also in the Metal Heroes show Metalder, which is like one of the ones that VR Troopers adapted. So, that's familiar for us. But like most of the stuff that he's been in is not stuff that I think we would necessarily recognize. But he has been in a shit ton of stuff. But for Toho, this is kind of like the big role that he gets to have.
Gotcha. Nice.
Yeah. I like him. He's good in it.
I do too. Oh, I think he's fantastic in this.
Yeah.
I think he's really, really good.
Yeah. We'll talk about some of the interpersonal stuff, I guess, as we go along with it. But another big one that I think is really fun that he got to like be in a big role because he doesn't often get to be in it is Jun Tazaki, who plays Captain Jinguji. He is one we have seen him constantly in these movies as military men and scientists, but like he gets to get his due as a major character in this movie, and he really nails it. I really love him a lot in this movie.
I was very excited to see it. There are a couple of the guys that show up sort of in minor or background roles that get to do much more significant stuff in this movie that takes everything very seriously. And I was like thrilled to see that he was a main character, that he was a serious character, and that he got the opportunity to like really bring it. He's so good.
Yeah. So this role, when Sekizawa was writing it, he really wanted Captain Jinguji to be played by Toshiro Mifune, which I absolutely could have seen. And if for those of you not like familiar, like he's the guy who's in like 70,000 Kurosawa movies. Like,
oh, gotcha.
Also one of the hottest men who has ever lived. Oh my God. Fucking smoking. He's an amazing actor.
Oh, wow.
But he's like a huge actor by this point because of his roles prominently being in Kurosawa movies.
Gotcha.
He was one of Kurosawa's like guys. If you have watched a Kurosawa movie, there is a very high likelihood that it is one with Mifune in it because he is in so many of them.
Oh my God, this photo of him in like a loose sweater and slacks, like he's very shaggy and he's just got like a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and he's carrying a bag and his jacket over his arm.
That's the vibe, dude. That's why he's so hot. He's frequently in very little clothing in many movies. Love that guy so much. It's like not a hot take to be like Mifune was a really, really, really hot man and good actor, but It would have been a big swing to get him in this. Apparently he wasn't even approached at all.
Oh,
they just like, I think they were sort of like, we're not going to get fucking Mifune for our like sci-fi movie.
Guys, you gotta at least ask.
But he was already tied up for rehearsals for what would be a very long 18-month shoot for Redbeard anyway. So like, I don't think that it ever was a chance to get him in this, but I do think that like it probably, even though Jun Tazaki was like, second place, it had to be kind of an honor to be like, you're filling in for the role that was written for Toshiro Mifune. Like that's a big deal. That is sort of like being like, we couldn't get Meryl Streep, so we've cast you in the role Meryl Streep was supposed to play. Like,
right.
It's that kind of like, it's sort of like, it's an honor to be second place to that,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So like, I think it's really cool. Cause again, big Toho company man, that's sort of kind of finally getting his due with this.
And what a cool part to do it, because like Captain Jinguji is like, I mean, we talked all about where that character comes from. It's like it's a complex character in a movie that takes the character seriously. And like he has relationships among the other characters in the movie that are also complicated. Like he's not like a mustache twirling villain. He's not like a shining golden hero. Like there's a lot of in between for the character he's playing.
No, he's really, really incredibly good and has, I mean, he's got like the arc of the movie. Like he has the most significant character progression too.
Yeah. I also love him in his white uniform with his white gloves.
Dude,
He looks so
God,
sharp.
So good.
His little mustache.
Like, yeah, I love that both him and Kasumi both have like the mustaches too. Like, you know, they're sort of, they're these parallel characters, two sides of the same coin, and also two sides of the same mustache. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know what? We were talking about hot guys. Speaking of fucking hottest men who ever lived, it's been so long since we've seen our boy Hiroshi Koizumi shows up as a fucking detective in this movie.
I know.
I screamed when he showed up.
I know, because
I have been missing his man. Where has he been?
I know. We haven't seen him in so long, and I already saw so many people that I was recognizing that I just wasn't expecting to see him. Like I just didn't think we would get treated so well, you know? And so the fact that he's also here, the fact that I think he starts the movie in like a 3-piece suit, he looks great. I mean, the only thing is like he could be in the movie more, but there's so much going on in this movie. I can't complain too much.
I can't complain. There is a certain point when he is literally just eye candy. Like he is just, he's standing with the characters in the last half of it, truly doing nothing but being hot. And again, I'm not complaining about it, but he could do more.
He could do more. But also, Honda, if you want to just put him in like on set, we will gladly just look at him.
Sure. That's fine. Oh my gosh, no, I love it. I love that he's in this. I also love that Kenji Sahara is in this, finally getting to be a weird little freak again.
My God,
finally.
Derek, I've talked about how Kenji Sahara is like a weird chameleon for my brain. I watched this whole movie being like, who is this guy? Because he's like, I know
they put him in the grodiest, weirdest.
But here's the thing: I know that they put him in like a weird beard, and he's wearing sunglasses almost the entire movie, and like a hat, and is like a jacket up to his like neck. But the thing is, and this I've talked about this with Kenji Sahara before. I didn't realize it was him the whole movie, and then when I saw that it was him, I can't unsee him now. Like it does look like him.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Oh man, he's such a weirdo in this.
I love it. And it's, I mean, you know, I think we have talked about it before where like he asks to be villains and stuff, but he's also constantly being slated in just like fucking background roles and shit too.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, watching these movies out of order, like I think where we're at with the Godzilla movies is like later 60s where he's just kind of just showing up just because he's just there at the Toho studio a lot anyway. They're sort of like, you want to just play generic scientist number 5? Like, sure. But like, this is like where this guy belongs. Like he feels like he feels like a Robert Pattinson to me a little bit.
Yes. Let him be weird.
Yeah. Let him be weird. He doesn't want to play a hot guy. He wants to play a weird guy, and he seems to relish in it. And he's always so fun whenever he gets to play a weird guy.
That's like Nicholas Hoult to me. It's like, stop trying to make him like a hot, like, you know, like good guy lead. Let him be like a weird bad dude.
Yes. I love it. I love these in this. I love these like a fucking
weird
secret weird beatnik journalist who also is actually an undercover like Moo agent. Like it's so fucking bizarre.
What is that beard too? It's so funny.
I know. It's the latest in Moo fashion, I guess.
Oh my God. It's kind of heinous.
Yeah. We also get Akihiko Harada showing up again, also as a Moo agent.
We get Akihiko Harada shirtless.
Yes, we do.
And Akihiko Harada has got a little bit of carpet going on.
Love that.
Yeah, I screamed at Koizumi showing up. I also screamed at the moment when Akihiko Harada showed up on screen without a shirt. I was like, oh! Because he's normally like a buttoned up doctor or professor or whatever. So very different role for him too.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. I mean, that's fun too.
Yeah,
I mean,
number 23. So funny. Moo agent number 23.
Everybody who's in Moo seems to be having a good time. Like, I don't know how hard it was to film that stuff. But it feels like I wish I was a Moo person.
100%.
I wish I was random Moo civilian number 75, just because it seems like such a fucking fun vibe. Like they're all just kind of partying down there.
Yeah, it's so funny because this movie takes its subject matter like very seriously, but at the same time, like some of the wildest shit we've seen is happening in this movie. You know, and they're all playing it so straight.
They really are. They really are. For example, the High Priest of Mu, Hideo Yamamoto, among other things, he's like Doctor Who from King Kong Escapes. So it's again, another banger performance, right? Or another banger actor just showing up as a fucking Mu dude.
Mm-hmm.
But the person that I really want to talk about, the Empress of Mu, with all of her astronomer wigs glory.
Oh my God.
the brightest of bright red wig that she has, and that is so amazing.
I don't know that we've seen anything like that yet.
No,
these like
not
synthetic,
yet.
like brightly colored, like I was gonna say Party City wig, and then I was gonna not, but like let's be real, like these are like such brightly colored, like neon color wigs. It's
weird, like it's Party City wig, but like said affectionately, like it works.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Obviously they look nice, but like imagine the color of wig you would get from Party City.
Every like woman that we see in Mu like looks like that, and I think that that's really fun if they're trying to build this distinct civilization. Like the idea that like that is just part of
all of the royal women or women in the royal court look like that.
Yes, that's true. That's sort of what it is to be royalty or like high status, is to have like brightly colored hair. Which I'm like, you know what? I wish we had a culture like that.
Yeah.
I wish that like our world leaders and our like most powerful CEOs had like bright purple hair.
Right.
Like the world would still be shit, but at least it would be pretty to look at.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah. So Tetsuko Kobayashi plays the Empress of Mu. She was just working in a TV show on the Toho lot. She had not done that much stuff. She was just working on a TV show at Toho. Honda like found her in Toho, like instantly was like, you're going to be perfect for the Empress of Mu. And she's like, okay. And he said he had only good things to say about her. He said she was so hardworking, very energetic. And he says she even went so far as to do all of her own makeup by herself.
I love that.
I love that. She seems great.
Yeah.
I don't know that she's really done a ton after that really, but like she got to be in a really big, memorable role this one time.
Yeah.
And killed it.
It's kind of a great, memorable role to be in too, if she hadn't done that much yet, because like she is not that what she's doing is easy, but it's not how she's utilized is more like a sniper than a shotgun. Like she is used very specifically in a very specific way, that she kind of has to nail that that specifically. And she does it.
Yeah, like she doesn't really get a ton of screen time, but like the screen time that she has is very impactful, and she has like a really very significant moment at the end of the movie.
When she has to act, because the thing is, she's the Empress, right? So a lot of the time in the movie, she is like being regal and on a throne, or she is like putting on Empress face or whatever. But the times when she gets to like act and be like an actual person, she kills it.
Yeah. And also her ladies in waiting that are like the white women that are there. They are American military wives who were living in Japan at the time that they found.
That's so funny. I wondered about that. I mean, one thing that's kind of cool about like Mu, and I'm sure it's just totally circumstance of like, we need everyone come here, to be part of Mu. It's like a weirdly diverse like culture comparatively to what we're used to seeing.
I kind of love it. Yeah. And they're very smart. Like they don't make the mistake of giving these American military wives any lines whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I think it only benefits them. They just get to be there for their presence, and it works.
And they also don't pretend that those people are anything different, right? They're not like painting them to look Asian, or they're not painting these people brown or whatever. Like if you pause, you just see people who look different from each other. Like, and that just is Mu,
I love that. You know what? Mu doesn't seem like a bad place to live. They got dragons. They got diversity.
Yeah.
They got
some, questionable leadership, but hey, so do we.
Exactly. Like, is that different from where we are? No, I think, you know what? At least they got style. They've got style is what they got. They got style and they got a dragon. That already is enough for me.
Right.
Yeah. Is there any other, those are all the actors that I have. Is there anyone else that you wanted to call out, or anything that I didn't list?
Well, I obviously always call out my guy Yoshifumi Chijima, and he does actually play a significant role in this movie. I'm not just calling him out to call him out. This time he actually is a character.
That was actually my mistake for neglecting him, because you're right. He has a very significant role.
He's easy to take for granted though, because you will see him in these movies.
Yeah.
So I like that he got to be something other than like random captain, of whatever random ship. The only other people I have to call out are just one is Tetsu Nakamura shows up in like, he's just like a captain of a ship very, very briefly. And it's just funny to me because I recognized him because he's one of those guys and he's barely in this movie. And the reason I noticed him is like, for whatever reason, it hit me this time that he like kind of looks a lot like, maybe it's the uniform he was wearing. He kind of looks a lot like the sort of like big general guy from -1. They look like kind of similar. So he's in this, but the one that's really interesting, last week, when we talked about Varen, there was a duo at the beginning of that movie of two students who get killed at the beginning of the movie. Those two actors are also a duo in this movie. They are the like missing engineers, Hisaya Ito and Nadao Kirino. I'm pretty sure are the same actors.
Oh my God.
From the beginning of Varen.
That's so funny.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Let me just double check that I'm not lying to. Yeah, it's them again. It's the same duo.
That is hilarious. Do you think they're like buddies in real life?
I hope so. I hope that's why that happens. I mean, like they really are largely not super important to this story, but it just struck me because of the proximity with which we watched those two movies and the fact that they are together both times. Plus, Nadao Kirino has like a pretty distinct look to him.
Yeah, that is so funny.
Yeah, that cracked me up.
Okay, I there's so many things we can talk about with this movie. I truly, genuinely, I don't know where to start with this. What is the thing that you feel most? I mean, we can start.
Oh my God.
We can start narratively from the beginning if we want, but I don't know how productive that would be.
I can start at the beginning. I don't know that it's because it's at the beginning. It is something that I think represents this movie just like in a larger way. This movie starts off in just like the wildest way possible.
Dude, that's so true.
And that, I think that carries throughout the movie. Like wild things keep happening. Like it starts off in this wild way where you have like this photo shoot and this car comes crashing through and there's like a taxi guy that like, turns out to be a bad dude and like all this crazy shit is happening. And the craziness kind of like keeps happening for a little while in such a way that like, in a worse movie would be really frustrating because it's not explaining itself.
No, just and like so a fucking sort of, Vapor Man shows up out of the water.
Vapor Man shows up out of nowhere. Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is happening?
Right. There's just like weird shit happening for like a decent chunk of the start of this movie. And it all ends up fitting together in some way, but they just let you sit with it. And it gives this movie at the start this really weird, mysterious vibe. Like you want to know what's going on and they just aren't telling you. So you're just like, what is happening? And then they throw this at you and then they throw this at you. It's just like a really fascinating way to kick off this movie. Because it doesn't have to start that way, but I'm glad it does. I mean, there's so much mystery involved in what's going on in this movie that they really like throw it at you from the jump.
I like that a lot about it because I think it really there's another version of this movie where it's like sort of a slow burn, and I think they kind of need to just sort of sell you on just like there will be weird things in this movie now because otherwise it does kind of take a while to like take a while to slowly introduce this threat of the Mu people and then be like we're going to take over the fucking world and to get then our lead characters to eventually find the island where the Gotengo is, right, and then shit goes. But like it has to be a bit of a slow burn to get to that point when like the movie really when all these elements sort of the Mu stuff and the Gotengo stuff come together, but you sort of avoid being like bored because you're so confused about because the Mu technology is so weird. So you can have these like secret assassins that are like vapor people or whatever. Yeah. I'm still like a little bit confused with exactly what those suits are, but like there's so much intrigue there that you're sort of like, I need to know what the hell is happening.
Yeah.
Before you even learn what the fucking Mu are. Yeah.
It has a weird, like almost absurdist vibe to it, but it's not absurd. Like everything that's happening is something you can follow. But they just give you all the pieces out front and then over time put them together. It's really, really cool. And really made it like impossible not to be invested very quickly. Because this movie just comes at you. Like it's so much fun from the jump.
Yeah, and I think they kind of get all the characters sort of interplaying with each other really well, because it's like the photographers witness this, they get that like case that they think is a bomb, right? That then they take to the detective, and then the detective connects them with Makoto, who is our connection to Captain
Yeah.
Jinguji, right? So like all of that stuff like kind of makes sense, I feel like.
Yeah, it's really well done. I mean, there are a lot of characters in this movie compared to some of the movies that, like, a lot of consequential characters in this movie compared to a lot of the movies that we watch. And sometimes the movies we watch, even the consequential characters are sort of like, all right, sure, like whatever. These characters are all consequential and have things to do.
They all have roles, they all have clear motivations and everything.
Yeah.
I like our female lead is like, so it is both like it is both a love interest, but also intricately like connected to the main sort of like political theme of the movie by being the daughter of the guy who's sort of at the center of the sort of political thesis of the movie, but also like has like an emotional has sort of an emotional conflict with him, and sort of represents sort of like why his sort of views are flawed too. Like just like her entire role like connects and represents so many different things, which is like so far and away different from a lot of other like female leads of this time.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it's tough. I don't like know where, like what, like how to tackle this, because there's so much to tackle.
I think, so like, you know, the Mu are destroying stuff, which drives them to eventually find the island that Captain Jinguji is at, because they've found they have information that he's alive and potentially working on a super weapon, right? That's more or less kind of how it's going.
Yeah. So Jinguji goes missing at the end of the war, and everybody presumes him dead. And it's
been literally 20 years.
It's been 20 years. No one's seen him. But Admiral Kasumi is like one of the very few people on the planet that like kind of knows the truth, or at least knows that the circumstances under which he went missing were not what they seemed, even if he doesn't know what the fuck Jinguji's up to now.
Right.
But then Kasumi ends up adopting Jinguji's daughter like at a really young age. So she is like very like Kasumi is like effectively her dad. So she has like an adoptive father basically, and then ends up crossing paths with her actual father. Which is,
love that dynamic.
Yeah, it's so wild. Okay, anyway, so Jinguji like goes missing and ends up being the guy you were talking about at the beginning of this episode that is just so detached from the world that he is still building this massive machine to finish the war or continue the war for the victory of Japan. And it's so fascinating because like it's not that they have no connection to like modern Japan, it's that they don't really want to have that much connection to modern Japan, because modern Japan surrendered, and Jinguji is holding on to this thing underground where he's like, Japan might have surrendered, but it's not valid because we didn't surrender. We are a part of the military that did not surrender. It's such a fascinating like weird thing to explore, and it all makes sense based on the books that it's getting into and the things that are kind of in the air and stuff. But like even without knowing that sort of stuff, it's like a fascinating character to put in the movie.
Yeah, like once they start interacting with him, they like frequently bring up like we've kind of adopted the U.S. Constitution for our own, right? Like we are working with the United States, and Jinguji is just sort of like, they're literally our enemies. Why would you do that? You know, like they could never be our allies, because the war where they're our enemies is still existing in my mind and on this island.
Well, because he's been singularly focused for 20 years. He's basically kept himself in like suspended animation, I guess. Like he has not progressed through time. And 20 years passed without him. Yeah.
And like, I think it's also really important that there is this daughter out there that she thought her dad was dead for 20 years.
Yeah.
Grew up without him, has to not only confront the fact that he's been alive this whole fucking time working for the military on a secret project, but that like he kind of it's not that he didn't care about her, but he also kind of clearly couldn't have cared that much about her.
I think what's so interesting about how they present that is Kasumi like tries to Admiral Kasumi tries to explain to Makoto like why why he left and why it was like an honorable thing to do, right? But Japan has moved beyond a lot of those values in this movie. And so Makoto like doesn't grasp necessarily in the same way that her contemporaries or like her peers don't necessarily grasp or at least accept, I should say. I'm sure they grasp it, but they don't accept this idea that like country above all, right? So like Jinguji leaves because it's like country first and then family. So then when she shows up, she's like, what the fuck? You're still alive. 2, what the fuck? You've been alive this whole time and didn't contact me or let me know. And then 3, when he does actually show up and interact with her, he basically like observes that she's there and then like turns away from her and talks to other people. Like it's truly wild. So like it's this thing that he does out of like this specific type of honor that he is trying to like manifest or like trying to exhibit. But it ends up being like shitty parenting and everyone else around really sees it that way. You know?
I don't remember. Maybe it's Kasumi who says this, but there's a line of like, well, you know, he didn't contact you because of like old fashioned patriotism. He thought it effeminate to think of home.
Okay. I'm so disappointed to report that was Susumu who said that.
Oh shit.
But it's possible that Susumu, I mean, I guess he can just be describing what he knows Jinguji's feelings are as opposed to necessarily like,
because he doesn't. I mean, he's not
things.
gonna.
I don't
he
think
doesn't
he
know
would.
for sure. I think he's like theorizing why it would. Okay, well that sucks. But I mean, I think it's still to that point. It's just sort of like this idea of just like it is like the most sort of toxic masculinity, toxic nationalism, toxic militarism, where it's just sort of like the only thing more important is defending my country and being, you know, my responsibility as a man of like leading and defending my country and also bringing my country like into the status of power. And I'm like, what are you defending and protecting if not your family? Like if you don't give if you're trying to be so cold to your daughter and be this honorable person and like commit to like defending the world, then like, I don't know. Like, I guess he thinks he's defending his daughter by doing that.
But that's such a
classic
classic
it's like by just
thing,
completely
right?
destroying your relationship with her and not even being in her life. Like, what's the point?
But that's like that's such a classic like quote like dad story. Not even quote dad story. There's so many dad stories like that are on a much smaller scale where it's like, you know. You growing up, you rarely see your dad because he's always working and he's doing it because like I'm supporting the family and I'm doing it all for you. But like as a kid growing up, it just manifests as dad is never around and doesn't know anything about me and doesn't care. Right. Like that's what this story basically is. It's a weird, like, it's kind of a weird like salaryman story also.
Oh my God, it totally is.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's obviously like a different, it's like a different reason, but it's
still
kind
like
of
doing a job that's ostensibly for your family in a way, but like ultimately only hurts them by not being around.
Right. It means you're never around. Right. It's so interesting. I do also, I mean, I was, you know, bummed that Susumu is the one that like delivers the message about, you know, effeminacy or whatever. But I also have to point out that Susumu and Admiral Kasumi are the ones that try to explain Jinguji's behavior to Makoto, but it is also clear that they don't believe the same thing because Susumu is the one who like calls Jinguji out to his face multiple times about how he's treating Makoto, right? I love when he like throws the idea of patriotism back in Captain Jinguji's face and calls it like a rusted armor of patriotism.
Oh, I love that.
It's so good. It's so good. So even though like, you know, even though you have these two guys who are sort of sitting there being like, oh, well, you're a young woman, you don't necessarily get it, let me explain it to you, they also don't believe it. So there's at least that. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, it's all really, really incredibly well played.
Yeah. Oh my God. The family dynamics in this one are so interesting.
Yeah. There's one scene that apparently was in the script that was cut out that I find kind of interesting. Like Sekizawa wrote it where once Makoto is like kidnapped, right? Mm-hmm. That Jinguji like actually like grapples with that and actually in the script like prepares himself to sacrifice her in order to save the world.
Jesus.
And then You're right. And that triggers an argument between him and Kasumi. And then I think that then Kasumi gets to like convince him to be like, your daughter's more fucking important. And Honda decided to cut it because I think he was sort of like, this movie is such a parable of like sort of global problems that we want to focus more on that than the personal problems. And while the personal element is obviously there with the characters, the deeper we dig into that, especially in the climax of the movie, the more it becomes about the characters rather than our sort of like overarching broad, idea. And that is a little bit too personal. And also I, in my opinion, I think makes Jinguji like more harder to redeem by the end of the movie if he's willing to literally kill his daughter, as dramatic and interesting and cool and dark as that would be. I do think I think that maybe would have made it a little bit too hard to root for his sort of redemption.
Yeah, I think it would have made it hard for me to root for his redemption for sure. It would have been cool to see, but I ultimately, I agree that like without it still gets the idea and what Jinguji represents across. And so as long as you're getting that across, they don't need to get like too dark with the interpersonal elements of it. I do like that it's not a good reunion at first and for a little while. Like I think it's cool that they are willing to lean into that and basically have her like
there's a line where she's like, I was happy you're dreaming about you. Like, damn, girl.
She explicitly says, I hate you. Like, and happier dreaming. Like she wishes she hadn't met him basically when she meets him. It's really, I as difficult obviously as that is, I like that they are willing to show that because a worse movie would just have her be thrilled that her dad still exists and is like throwing herself at him because he's alive,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What's interesting to me is that because, I mentioned earlier that the pieces are like feel like they were meant to fit together, even though they're coming from different inspired places. So like Jinguji's thing of like being separate from Japan and making this big weapon, just like kind of coincidentally, but not through like many contrivances, happens to be kind of the perfect thing for the Mu. Because the Mu have just sort of been like waiting for like the right opportunity or the right resources to like, enact their sort of assault on the world to try to take the world back over, It's interesting because the way that you were describing some of the things that they were talking about or trying to comment on is like also kind of represented in the Mu for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all of this, both Jinguji's group and the Mu, I think are both like representative of just like intense nationalism to the point that it kind of destroys you. And like Jinguji is able to sort of pull back after sort of reconnecting with his family and finding like humanity by the end of the movie. Right. Whereas the Mu are so ultimately committed to, we should be a superpower. We are better than everyone, that it ultimately leads to their own destruction, to the point that you have like the Mu Empress, like rather dying with her people than like recognizing that like maybe it was a mistake or anything like that.
But it's fascinating that they're just like laying in wait. And that's not like unique to this movie, right? A lot of like underground civilization stories, especially ones we've covered like through Spider-Man cartoons, are civilizations laying in wait to like take over the world above. But the Mu actually has like a history with the world above, in that like apparently they like enslaved like a significant chunk of the world before their continent went under.
Fucking wild.
And so they just view and treat, or at least the worst of them, just view and treat.
Doug, that's why their civilization is so diverse, is because they're all like, they're all traced back to slaves. Oh no. They're way less cool now.
I was so excited about their diversity.
Sorry to ruin that for you.
But that's a great observation.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It's a good thought. I mean, there's so much in this movie, honestly, to think about. But no, I mean, it means that like the worst of them really do just continue for what, 12,000 years or something to just consider the world above as their slaves. Like that, their whole thing is like, we need to get back up to the surface so that we can, enact our assault on the world and re-enslave our slaves. It's like so fucked up. And all that, I guess all that came from how those two things fit together. One, like they're exploring different elements of this like nationalist thing, obviously that the movie's trying to explore. But the Mu have this opportunity to take this ultimate weapon from this other guy, basically like taking advantage of his very specific brand of nationalism, and using it to their advantage, you know?
Yeah. God, that's a great observation.
It's weird too that like he was aware of them. I guess he was only aware of them because they tried to kidnap him. But like, how did that all play out? Because I know that the submarine that they have, Captain Jinguji knew they were going to try to take it and left it as a decoy, I guess. But I guess they don't.
It didn't even really click with me that it's sort of like, yeah, he's very privy to this information that like no one else is privy to.
I guess there's a couple things. One, it's entirely possible that this is just like one of those, like the government has secrets type of things, or like the military has secret type of things.
Yeah. The implication is that the Mu have been like sending agents up for probably a while now. So of course, like the military or the government is aware of that or something. Yeah.
That, or like they don't put a very specific timeline onto all those events. So it's entirely possible Jinguji was already down there or already, working on something or whatever.
Right.
Because the submarine they have went missing after the war, and it just was a mystery as to where it went, basically. Mm-hmm. So they could have been operating it for a while. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about the Mu and like, their intent to take over the world and everything. And their attack, like some of the destruction that they cause is incredibly done.
Incredibly done, but like so intense. Like when they do surface and start attacking, it is big time.
When they cause that earthquake that destroys like the entire like Tokyo business district.
Oh,
it's incredible.
It is easily one of the coolest like effects we've seen in any of the movies we've covered so far. Like beyond a shred of a doubt, because that they had to collapse their miniature city to do that.
Can I tell you what we see on screen like was actually like a mistake?
That's incredible. Wait, no, tell me all about this.
So the original vision for the scene of this underground collapse was that it would be a slow ripple throughout the city, a rolling wave. So you would sort of see the beginning of this sort of like sinkhole kind of type destruction. And then it would slowly throughout the model, like I said, in waves kind of expand. So basically they built this model city. They literally had like it's a really extensive model city. The stage, like they have stage cans even like crawl under the platform, kind of partially cut through the main support to tie ropes to each support beam in these model buildings. And then those ropes were attached to the bumper of a truck. So the idea would be that this truck would very, very slowly pull out, pulling those buildings, pulling the support beams from under them. So then like as it drove forward more, the rope would sort of get, pull more buildings down.
Yeah.
However, when they went to shoot it, like this is a thing where it's like, you can do it.
You get one shot.
You got one shot. And I think the technician was under a lot of pressure, panicked, hit the gas real fast.
Really?
And then the whole fucking city collapsed at the same time.
Okay, here's the thing. I understand the vision they were going for. I'm sure it would have looked very, very cool. I think it is deeply dramatic for the whole city to crumble at once. And it looks, I know it's a mistake, but it looks incredible. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I know it's impossible to know, but like I almost don't want that version because it is so dramatic for the whole thing to fall at once.
Yeah, it looks good. And I think, I think that they were like, are we gonna have to fucking redo this all over again? And
No, it looks great.
Just sort of like, I'll figure it out in the editing room. And I think what they edited together is what we got. And it looks fucking incredible.
My jaw dropped. Effect. It truly is one of my favorite things we've seen.
It's haunting. It's scary. It's exciting. Yeah. Like it's fucking wild.
Yeah. They can do some amazing stuff with miniatures. And I know most of those things are on purpose. But this, as far as miniature sets go or city sets go, is just like unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Such a cool effect. I totally agree with you. It's one of the best things we've seen in these movies.
It's shocking. It's genuinely shocking. It's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I already mentioned their submarine that emerges with the golden Manda like death ray cannon that
cool.
just like annihilates warship after warship after warship. I mean, those things just go up so fast. Also, this happens a little bit earlier, I think. But the ship that goes up in flames that like the Tetsu Nakamura character is the captain of. It's like right after so it's the ship that gets the radio message that the UN has chosen not to investigate the Mu films, right? And they're like looking at this, and then like lights start surrounding them. And they're like, "Hey, Captain, there's a light over here." And he goes and looks over there. And then someone else is like, "Oh, Captain, over here." Like, what are those supposed to be? Because it's like a circle of lights that just get closer and closer to the ship. And then the ship like sets on fire, like kind of all at once. It's really scary and eerie and effective. I just am not totally sure what it's supposed to be.
It's just probably just another kind of death ray kind of thing. But I mean, like, I think I feel like they were probably having fun just designing just wild off the wall weapons for the Mu. Like it's basically just magic. That's what they're doing, you know? Well, so and it also feels very alien, you know, like it feels like some sort of creepy alien tractor beam or death ray or something. God, I mean,
so much stuff they do with them is kind of this weird, like alien, like cryptid mystery mystical shit, because like
I love it.
There's the moment where they're on the beach where Akihiko Harada's character like dives off into the ocean or whatever, but like before he does that, his character and Susumu like full on wrestle on the beach, and I was like shocked that they were like tackling each other like in that scene. But before he actually jumps into the water, there's like those 5 like figures that like emerge like off in the distance on the horizon, and like the ship that like emerges, that's never really explained either. Like there's just kind of these weird alien things that happen. Yeah. And I guess like this is a civilization that like has a fucking dragon. So whatever the civilization clearly has some kind of magic, or like, you know, whatever, magic is technology we don't understand yet, whatever, like has something that humans do not have, that is like this weird mystery shit that feels so bizarre and alien. I love it. I don't know what it is, but I love it. Because it's also like Mu Agent number 3, Akiko's character, like has the heat hands where he like is burning people and like heats up that wrench. Like that's never explained either.
Yeah, it's number 23, Doug.
What did I call him?
His number. You got him number 3. He's a higher rank than number 3.
Oh,
it's 23.
Is number 3 not a higher rank than 23?
I don't know. I'm just making this shit up.
I do think it's funny that he has an agent number 23.
I love that. Funny. I think it's so fun. I mean, I feel like it's just like remnants of the sort of James Bond influence on so many things, right? Where it's agents all have numbers, right? Yeah. You know, but number 23 is just such a funny number to have.
Especially because it feels like so not alien or mystical.
It's
like a weird name for someone in that culture. I mean, I'm sure it's not his name, but designation or whatever. Could be.
Maybe it is. Could be. He's born as New Agent 23. That's his birth name.
Yeah. Wasn't the assassin in the one movie called like SSS5 or something?
Something like that. I think it was SS5 or SSS5. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's right in line with
right?
that. I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. I should remember that, but
there was a lot of characters, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of Manda, like I know we already talked about like his scenes, because he gets like really one really substantial one where he fights Gotengo and it's fun, wraps around it and everything. They kill it with a death ray. It's sad. I like his introduction though, when you know they're in the sort of like, you know, prison cell essentially, and it's like, we're gonna feed you to our fucking dragon, and they just like open the door and you just see the close up of the scales at first. And then they move and you see his fucking big old cat eyes. It's so cool and it looks so good, and it is genuinely scary. Yeah. You know?
Oh yeah. It's terrifying. Yeah. It's really cool. I also like that they make them open the window themselves. Go ahead, open that window. Go for it. It's so brutal. On the topic of Manda and some of the stuff that happens kind of in that realm, how do they do the like our protagonist team and the prisoners swimming away? How did they do that? Because they're not underwater in real life, right? But it looks really good. Like, it looks really good.
Oh, I'm actually not sure. Yeah, because I know, obviously a lot of the stuff that they do underwater is just wire work with models, and then they either have a camera filter on it to make it look blue, or a camera filter plus like shooting smoke in there to give the smoky thing that makes it looks like an obscured underwater.
Right. But for them, they're not models. They are moving. And if they're on wires, one, I guess it could be not the actual actors because they're in full suits.
Yeah.
So it could specifically be like suit actors or body actors or something, whatever. But like, it doesn't look however they were choreographed, however they were instructed or directed, it looks really good. They do not look like they are hanging from wires and pretending to swim. Even if that's exactly what they're doing. It's so impressive. It's one of the effects in this movie that I couldn't wrap my head around how they pulled it off.
God, I'm not sure. I wish I had something.
Because like the Manda stuff looks really impressive too, but I can kind of imagine how they did it.
You can tell when they go Gotengo too. Like you can tell when it's like that. I'm sure that was attached to a wire, and
Right, but I'm so baffled and bamboozled by that effect. And I know it was also, they had a lot of like smoke and stuff happening like in that scene too. So I'm sure something was obstructed, but you do still see their figures swimming through the water. Also, what an intense scene.
Yeah. Oh my God. Seriously. The fact that they do have to swim away from their, imprisonment
past a fucking dragon.
Past a dragon. That's crazy.
You know what it reminded me of? It's like the undersea version of having to jump like in open space from one vessel to another. I think like Power Rangers did it.
Lost Galaxy fucking did that shit, man. Yeah.
that shit always stresses me out, like just the vastness of whatever, and you have to jump from one thing to the next. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. Oh God, so good. So good. Oh, like there are other random Moo things, like the exploding like discs that they send out. Like
there's there's the exploding discs. They also have like, I guess it might be the discs, but like they just kind of like crash to earth and blow things up. I also love what's really funny to me is like they show all the different places around the world, and like some of them are like maybe paintings and some of them are just like actual stock footage of the locations. That cracks me
funny.
up.
It's because they cut right directly from one to the other. It's like so clear when it's like that's a matte painting and that's just
and that's actually New York.
You got from news, news footage, newsreels. What is it? I think it's like is it like Paris?
Paris is one of them.
It's absolutely just painted.
That one's definitely painted. New York we see, and that's actual footage, probably from a helicopter or something. That's just like stock stuff. I feel like we see London maybe. Hong Kong, I think they mentioned, gets destroyed. It's like a lot of different places.
Yeah. Very global movie. I love it.
It's. They don't dwell on it at all, really, but like this one attack, like coordinated attack by the Moo, like was pretty global in its destruction.
This movie is very Independence Day.
It kind of is, isn't it? Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Instead of coming down from space to like target specific, international hubs, they come up from the ocean to target specific international hubs.
There are many conspiracy theories that are very prominent currently right now that like the UAPs and things like that like people are claiming to have seen, or that the military is spilling about. Like the big conspiracy theory is that they're like underwater things.
That they're not coming from
UAPs.
Space. They're terrestrial.
They're not coming from space. They're terrestrial.
Oh my gosh.
And either they're literally just like underwater aliens that have been here for centuries, or I think the skeptics who are still buying into it are like, oh, it's like secret military stuff that's being tested underwater, that they're testing. Like,
damn, show them this movie.
Maybe it's the fucking Moo, maybe the Moo are under there. I don't know, man.
Yeah. The Moo, their technology is so interesting. Not even just the like military stuff, but when they show the like pan across, like, I mean, it's weird because it's like totally empty and you're like, there should be people here. But like when they pan across like the whatever city I guess is in Mu, they're just like floating vehicles, and it's an interesting place. Did you come across at all anything about like what inspired any of the aesthetics or architecture of Mu? Because it feels very much like a cultural mosaic in a lot of ways. It doesn't feel like it's riffing on one specific thing. And I know the in-universe explanation, unfortunately, is that they enslaved a lot of the Earth and probably just stole a lot of that stuff. But I am curious because you can kind of point to a lot of different things, and some of it feels very directly inspired by like Egyptian stuff. Some of it feels very directly inspired by like Mesopotamian stuff. Some of it almost feels like African in some ways. But it feels like this very like almost like quilt of different inspirations.
I do not know. You know what? That is something that would be worth looking more into. I mean, because, you know, I think that like probably an easy thing to point to would be looking at the Undersea Kingdom, the book, because maybe it was just something that was invented for that book where it was kind of look cool. But because this is sort of like an actual legend that exists, you know, you can read up about legends of Mu as they exist.
I wonder how much of it pulls from that stuff, because it's I think it's very clearly meant not to look specifically like one thing. I mean, even just the fact that that the women wear those like neon colored wigs, I think is supposed to, even though they are cut like and ornamented very much like what you would expect from sort of like a more stereotypical like depiction of like Egyptian pharaohs or whatever. It's very obviously meant to specifically not be that, even though it looks like that. Yeah. It's a fascinating culture. Wish that they weren't, you know, fucking slavers.
So James Churchward, like in his original writings, said one of his theories about Mu was that like other great ancient civilizations like ancient Egypt were remnants of the Mu civilization. So it's kind of doing the Stargate the other way thing around. Yeah, where it's like Mu, you know, like Mu existed, and then what we've seen or were sort of inspired, or, you know.
Gotcha. Like so it's not a mosaic. It's that the culture of Mu was sort of spread out across the globe. Got it. Right. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Mu's fucking cool.
I know. With cool you know concept. The one glaring exception, it's such a cool like idea of just like having this. You know, I mean, there's so many different like Atlantean or whatever types of depictions, and this does. I mean, I'm not an expert on them. I'm sure that there are a bazillion, and people are probably very familiar with them, especially considering Mu is like it's very adjacent. But I'm not super familiar with it, and so this one feels very unique to me. In that it doesn't look like it's trying to be like an underwater civilization, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah. The only other thing that I had is just sort of, it is interesting. I think you were sort of referencing this, but when you look through Mu, it is just really cool how big their Mu sets look. And I think part of that was just like compositing and painting and stuff, but it's like, they really show off that the rooms that they are in are fucking huge. Oh, and there are points when they look teeny tiny in these giant chambers.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we talked about the actual Gotengo itself, but the dock or whatever, like the chamber for the Gotengo is really cool. And that's one of the examples where they just look tiny. I mean, it's also one of the examples where like some of the compositing shows, but for every shot where there's like really obvious compositing, there's also some really impressive compositing. Yes. Because when they are like towards the end of I think it's probably towards the end. Well, no, because the Gotengo wouldn't be in there anymore, I guess. But there's one shot where they are like in the room with the Gotengo, I think, and they're like running up to it, or they're running past it or something. And the way that they composite just the floor, they must have shot the people actually running across some like just like open lot or something, like with enough space that they could then just like composite into a much smaller set, and the seams are like not visible because they just managed to like get enough space that they could really not composite the people, but composite the ground they were on, and it's really effective. It looks so cool. They do a lot of that with them infiltrating at the end too.
It's really cool. And I mean, like, that's I like that. Like, I like how how the action stuff is structured narratively, because it's very video gamey in a good way, where it's just sort of like the Mu have a power generator that we have to get to. If we have to get past the boss, Manda, to get to that generator room. And once we get to the generator room, we can plant explosives there, and then it will not only destroy their power source, but like cause a chain reaction that will like destroy everything essentially. Like that's ultimately how things go down.
Yeah.
Which, again, very
they gotta
video
blow
gamey.
up their fucking man-made sun.
Of a fucking man-made sun.
They call it a sun. We never see it, so it's possible they just refer to it as their sun, but they
the
call it a
power
sun.
of the sun in the palm of my hands.
In the palm of Moo's hand.
The palm of whose hands, yeah. But yeah, I mean, but ultimately the goal is just to fucking decimate this population.
Yeah.
And they genocide the shit out of them.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, but I think it's, like, one thing we talked about in Varen last week is that, like, they all of the events of that movie are the responsibility of fucking humans fucking with things and causing problems. And it's a nice thing that Godzilla and Toho kaiju movies often do is explore that and be like, the hubris of humanity. I can't believe we caused this. It sucks that we did it. And the bad movies, the bad Toho and kaiju movies, of which there are few that like do this, but like the really bad ones are the ones that do that and then like let it be a victory for humanity. Like, don't address the hubris of it or how sad or tragic that is, which is like what Varen did. This is one of the good ones that absolutely has humans kind of like in the original Godzilla sort of like are in this really awful situation. And it's ultimately a last ditch effort to defeat this like overwhelming force that is otherwise going to completely kill and or enslave
and has
the entire
begun
world
to
ultimately.
like has already begun to
has effectively shown their prowess and their power and really shown that like we are a force to be reckoned with. And, like Independence Day, there's just, they have effectively, started taking over the world. And the only way to defeat them is just to defeat all of them in one fell swoop and not leave a living soul out there.
Yeah.
And I guess that's War of the Worlds too, is what they ultimately do. It's like many alien invasion stories.
Yeah.
But the difference with this one is that like, they're not aliens. They are humans that are like on Earth, but the only thing that they can do is just basically destroy their entire civilization in one fell swoop.
Damn.
But what makes it so good is that it is not presented as a nice, fun victory.
No.
It is presented as like, this is like hellish. Like, it looks like fucking hellfire on the water when the Mu civilization is decimated and everyone under there is either burning or blowing up or drowning. Yeah. Like, and it is fucked up.
Yeah.
That visual of the basically intense wall of smoke and flames on the water is such a striking image. It blew me the fuck away when I watched it. 'Cause I'm like, I can't even comprehend what I'm looking at. Apparently they used like a small water tank, had a camera secured upside down beneath the water line, and then a sky backdrop was placed behind the water, and they used colored paints poured into the water to create this billowing smoke like cloud effect. Isn't that crazy?
I would have come nowhere close to guessing how they did that.
Fucking upside down camera underwater and a bunch of colored paints. Like, I can't even comprehend how you figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't feel like it would work. Like, that doesn't like you just describing it to me doesn't feel like that would work.
I struggle. I'm not sure if I'm like, I hope I read that correctly because I don't quite understand.
No. I'm sure you did. Like, generally, like mechanically, I understand what they were doing, but like, damn, like if you didn't believe that these people were like really good at what they do, I mean, that's an extreme example of like, how the fuck did they pull that off? I mean, it's confusing me in the way that like the actual Mu technology confuses me. Like, I see it happening and I don't understand how they pulled it off. It's confusing in a movie magic.
It's confusing in a movie magic kind of
way, Yeah, it's really cool.
That I don't know. It really affected me because it is just sort of like this. It doesn't feel like a victory. Like intentionally, it feels like a haunting, scary, frightening image. And it's sort of like, we did this. Like our cool ass fucking drill sub aircraft made this happen. Like, and in a movie that is constantly in a movie that is constantly addressing the idea of sort of like viewing war as being something that you want to do, like turns you into a monster, you know, like it makes you like both the Mu and Jinguchi, it makes them into these fucking hardened, unfeeling evil people ultimately by pursuing this desire to just create war because you feel like that's what you need to do to become powerful and rule the world. It makes you like a monstrous figure. And everyone who also disagrees with that and is like, you don't want to be a fucking monster. We don't need to do this. We could just live our lives and just like have, you know, have a nice life, you know? But they are forced to be culpable into committing this like true like atrocity by decimating an entire population because they're, you know, forced into it. I don't know what else they could have done.
Right. I think that's
peace talks were never going to work, you know?
Right. I mean, that's what makes these types of stories so effective is like, you know, if what you're talking about is the atrocities of war and what it can do to people, I mean, you have to depict how deeply it can like infect humanity. You know what I mean? And like, it's very much that like, you know, this infection of humanity is like going to be painful to stop, and you are not going to want to do it, and you might even have to be a part of it to stop it. You know, and it's really there's like no. I mean, obviously there are bigger losers in the situation, but no one's like really winning either. And what makes it even like, you know, the cherry on top is the fact that, you know, the Mu Empress, like that scene at the end of the Mu Empress. Dude. I mean, it's one of those things where like the Mu Empress is obviously like a terrible person, right? Like if you know, assuming that she is not purely a figurehead, and I don't think she is. She's not treated like a figurehead. She's probably a terrible person. But the one thing that I can sort of be like, you know what, like respect is that she is like, I am not going to sit here and watch my entire country go down in flames and then be the sole survivor of that. Like that's fucked, you know? And so as devastating and weird and horrifying as it is, it almost like feels like it has to happen for her to jump off and then like swim into the hellfire, you know?
I don't blame her. Like, I'm just like, I think I mean, I don't want to say I think she made the right decision, but like, how could she continue to live? I think
not doing it is the worst decision, you know? Like, and all they can do is watch her do it.
Yeah.
Like, what are they supposed to do?
And I think isn't it Jinguchi who's just sort of like, no, I understand. Like, I, of all of you, I understand your sort of dedication to your country. And like, so I can understand why we have to just let her go. We can't stop her. Like, this is what she needs, which is like an interesting moment of empathy because it's like coming from a dark place, but it's like, he's recognizing that his enemy like is like him, you know, like he goes through this arc of realizing that it's like, I am wrong for trying to force Japan into war again and making it a superpower, but I still have to use my military prowess to do that exact kind of thing that I was planning to do anyway to the civilization. Yeah,
I mean, he has to, but I mean, he gets to see in that moment with the Mu Empress, like the alternate path he would have gone down, right? Like that could have been his journey. Yes. And the turning point isn't necessarily that he chooses not to war, because that's not a possible choice based on how deeply they've gotten into this, how infected they've become. But what he does do is shift his war from one place to another. And he made the Gotengo for one purpose and shifts it to another one. Right. And that's like where he gets to sort of switch his path. He's not, you know, hands not clean, still has to do horrible things, but I like that he gets to switch the path and then see what the alternate path could have led him to. It makes me believe, you know, I redemption stories I think can go so horribly wrong. And this is one where like, I can believe by the end that he has gone through enough. He has seen enough that like, this is actually a guy, despite having been for 20 years obsessed with the idea of like Japan taking over the world. I feel like he's been through the exact very specific circumstances where he will not think that way anymore.
Oh, for sure. I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, he went from offensive to defensive, like in his mindset, and then saw what continuing on that offensive sort of mindset does to the Mu Empire.
Yeah.
You know, like, and he's still, I don't think that he's going to stop being in the military or suddenly be like anti-war or peace loving or whatever. But like the way that he sort of approaches the job that he has, I think is forever changed from here. And the reason that he does this and like the reason that he loves his country in any way, I think is fundamentally changed.
I mean, is he going to be are they going to let him be in the military
Well,
anymore?
okay. I don't know that he would.
He's not voluntarily leaving the military.
Right. That's what I think so.
Might be
That's
discharged.
what I mean. But he wouldn't
right.
be I don't think that he's at a place where he would be making the choice of sort of like, I'm turning my back on the
He's
military
not a pacifist
forever.
anymore. Right. Not immediately, at least.
I think so. I think so. But I think that that's smart because I think that would be unrealistic for this character.
Yeah.
Who's been committed to this for so long.
Or if that's like where his path, or if that's where he sees his path going, it's not an easy one and it's not an instant one. It's one with lots of pitfalls and lots of lows.
Absolutely. Again, this is like it's not a happy ending.
No.
I think that it's like they do something horrible and these people are going to be fucking scarred from this.
Yeah.
For the rest of their lives, and the whole world is going to have to be rebuilding from this,
Yeah, I mean, the entire world. Yeah, exactly. That's it's amazing to me how little they dwell on that in this movie. But it's not really entirely about that. But this movie joins the roster of movies that just end with your entire cast watching a horror in front of them before the end comes up. I mean, there is no, like you said, it's not a happy ending. There's no like come down or bow or ribbon or anything. They are just watching the hellfire and the movie ends.
Yeah. You know what I also like too, because I was connecting in my mind to like the original Godzilla, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels it's a very similar feeling when you end these movies. Like Godzilla, part of the sadness is also like Serizawa dying. I think it is so smart that Jinguchi doesn't have like some heroic sacrifice where he dies.
I think he does not.
Keeping all of our main protagonists alive, I think is so smart because that they will have to deal with what they did.
Yeah.
And it doesn't distract from the sort of larger parable that they're doing,
Yeah.
The one death, the big death you have at the end is the Mu Empress killing herself, essentially, Yeah.
Well, I think if Captain Jinguji had a big heroic sacrifice at the end, that is an example of where I think a redemption would have gone wrong. Like it happens all the time. It's largely effective, but there's always a piece missing, I think, when that is just your solution for the redemption. Because it means that person doesn't actually have to live with the consequences of their actions. Doesn't mean they actually have to reckon. Yeah, exactly. I like that. I hadn't thought about that, but I think you're so right.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
This movie's so good.
It's
I had no idea what I was getting into when turning this one on.
No,
I knew Manda and I knew the Gotengo.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's it.
Because, I had no idea what I was getting into. I didn't even know that Atragon didn't refer to a monster. But, but like, on top of not knowing what I was getting into, it's like, it's a movie that's so good to think about, and it's a movie that's really fun to watch. Like it's always dangerous to invoke the name of GMK, but GMK is one of those movies too that is just extremely fun to watch, but is also really fun to like think about, and like the things that it's saying are fun to talk about. This is one where like, very, very extremely different movie, not the same movie, but like it's really fun to watch, and it is also really fun to think about. Like those types of movies are so good, and I'm glad that we get them sprinkled in, here and there.
Fully co-sign.
Just top tier in both categories.
Fully co-sign. What a great one. I'm so glad that we included this.
Me too, because I don't know when I do watch movies, here and there that I know we're not going to get to. But I don't know. I mean, knowing literally nothing about this one, I don't know when I would have watched it.
Yeah, for sure. For cover art for this episode, I did it. Doug, do you want to see it?
Of course I want to see it.
Okay. I'm going to send this to you.
I can't wait to see what you chose, because Atragon's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is.
Whoa! Derek!
I'm really proud of this one. It's my favorite
this
one that I've
rules done. And these colors. I love the colors you chose.
Thank you.
Whoa. I was sitting here thinking like, oh, will it be the sub? Will it be Manda? Will it, like, what will you choose to focus on? But it's both.
Yeah. I could not draw a noodle sea dragon. So
this is cool. This is really cool. All those scales, dude.
Yeah, that was
Damn.
fun. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice
that
job.
was all free-handed too, which I'm really proud of. So
hell yeah, dude. Oh, this is a good one. I like this one a lot.
Thank you. Well, if you want to see it and all the other cover art that Doug has done and that all of our guest artists have done as well, go to glitterjaw.com. We've got a whole cover art gallery where you can see them without the text. So you can just see the pretty pictures. And on all your podcast apps, they'll show it with the Skronk text as well. So
yeah,
check them out. Predictions.
Yeah.
So we do have one kaiju in this movie. Do you think we're going to see Manda ever again?
I really don't know, because Manda was like frozen to the side of Mu, and then Mu was like blown up. So like, I don't know, one, if Manda survives that. Two, I also don't know that matters.
Sure.
I don't know, because thinking about like last week, Varen was easy. Varen has a monster. When are we going to see Varen again? Oh, probably we're going to see him return as a monster in a monster movie. Here it's like, what part of this movie is the important part that we'll see again? And I don't think it's Manda. I think it is the Gotengo. Like the Gotengo, we've seen vehicles, cross movies before. So it wouldn't be weird. I just don't know if we've really seen that happen in this era, but Gotengo is significant enough. It is very much like what was that called? The Super X or whatever. Yeah. Like it feels like that type of thing, that it would feel weird not to utilize it again. So I'm guessing that's the thing we would see again. I just have no idea like why or how. And I would be worried that it would be like trivialized in a way, if that makes sense. Like,
sure.
I think it will return. I hope it returns with at least some semblance of gravitas, or it is treated like the weapon that it is. But I do think I think that's the thing. That's the thing you have to point to. I think that's going to return. I don't know that we're going to see Manda again, or at least in this era. Maybe Manda comes back in like a reimagined way in some of the worlds that just have monsters everywhere.
Gotcha. And then, I mean, that was sort of going to my other question of like, A, why do you think we watched this movie? And B, do you think any other elements of it will appear? Like, for example, do you think the Moo people are going to show up again or anything like that?
Oh, that's fascinating. Well, I've been burned
because they're kind of like what like the Zillions were.
I was
right?
just going to say, I keep getting burned by the Exilians because they feel like they have to come back, and they're not coming back. I still think they will, but every time I predict it, they won't, or they don't rather. So I don't know. I think the reason we're watching it is for the Gotengo. The Mu, I don't know. Similarly to Manda, I mean, like we saw them destroyed, so I don't know if we see them in future movies. If we do see them in future movies, and if this is a continuity of some kind, or if they want to maintain some kind of continuity with the Mu, there are likely Mu that exist on the surface. Like that is something we know they did. So even though they destroyed all of Mu, they did not actually kill every Mu person on the planet. So there are ways that they could still have Mu characters. Right. I don't know though. That feels like way more Star Trek than it does like what we've seen to this point. Sure. So I guess the short answer is I guess I should take the opposite approach. We're going to 50-50 this and say that as much as I'm saying that the Exilians will return, I'm going to say that the Mu do not. I got to be right about one of them. Sure. Unless I'm wrong about both in the opposite directions. And the Mu show up everywhere and the Exilians never do.
Turns out the Mu and the Exilians are the same, actually.
I mean, I could see it. It's not that hard to make that make sense.
The next movie we are doing next week, in fact.
Oh my God.
Destroy All Monsters.
Okay.
So this movie, 1968, it is coming after Son of Godzilla. It's the movie that immediately follows that.
Interesting. So, okay.
With that in mind, what do you know or think you know about this movie?
Okay. So I know that there is like a category of movies. I don't know about them, but I know there's a category of movies that all kind of sound like this, where I know there's Destroy All Monsters. I know there is All Monsters Attack. I know that there's like some, there's like the GMK one where it's like, giant, whatever.
Giant Monsters All Out Attack.
Thank you. Yeah. All Out Attack. I know there's one called like Tokyo SOS or something like that. That I think there's more to that name too. And I know that there's like a modern one that is, I don't know if it is King of the Monsters or not, but I know that there's one that implies monsters, plural. Sure. So I know we're kind of getting into that realm finally. So for Destroy All Monsters, the title is interesting. All Monsters Attack like almost makes more sense to me as a movie title because it just is sort of like, hey, oops, all the monsters are here. Destroy All Monsters makes the humans seem a little bit more active in that scenario, but I don't think that's what they're actually trying to imply. I think it is just a movie where somehow, some way, a bunch of monsters all attack at the same time or in succession or something, and I would assume that where we are in the Showa era, I'm guessing that Godzilla gets to be the hero.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is like Godzilla versus everyone, or if it's going to be like a Civil War situation where it's like, which side are you on? Are you on Godzilla's side or are you on Ghidorah's side, you know?
Yeah.
Because like Mothra is not going to be a bad guy. So if anything, it'll be Godzilla and Mothra versus the world. But
sure,
it's that type of scenario, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. We'll continue. Let's continue on this track.
Okay.
So say that you're right, and this is a movie that has a bunch of monsters, whether it's a Civil War thing or all of them teaming up or whatever. Whatever route you want to go down. What monsters do you think will show up in this? Like, name as many as you think will show up.
Okay. This is hard because I know that we have Destroy All Monsters and All Monsters Attack. And I don't know if, it's hard for my modern brain to like not think of that in very specific ways. I don't know if those movies are in any way related or not.
And you know that sometimes the Toho movie titles
don't mean
not
anything.
At all representative
right? So like,
of what the movie is, and maybe it wasn't the original Japanese title, it's just international title. It's weird. Like, there's so many things that you don't know that I'm not going to tell you until we get to the movie.
Well, and so this movie's right after Manila was introduced, so like what the fuck does that even mean? Is like Destroy All Monsters a bunch of monsters attacking Manila and Godzilla just is like on a raid, like a rampage, like defending his child from all the monsters? That would actually be kind of sick. So maybe that's that one, and then All Monsters Attack is the one that is actually just a bunch of monsters attacking like humans or something. The human stories, weirdly enough, like haven't been that important in the past few Showa movies we've watched, but they feel like they should have to be for something where all the monsters show up. What was your question?
Name as many monsters as you think will.
Okay.
As you want to. Name as many monsters as you can that you think will appear in this.
I think. I guess in the next one, whatever. I'm technically just answering this, I guess, for both. But Godzilla obviously will show up. I'm certain we haven't seen the last of Manila. Ghidorah has to show up again at some point. I feel like I want so badly for Anguirus to show up. Mothra feels like a lock. Rodan feels like a lock. We watched Baragon for a reason. We watched Baragon and he showed up in GMK. Ooh, that one threw me. Varen probably shows up. God, who else have we seen in the Showa era? Oh, Abira. Ooh, does Abira show up? Why not? I feel like anybody I could name probably shows up, except maybe Baragon? And maybe Anguirus, sadly. I don't know who I'm missing, I guess, is where I'm at this point.
Cool. I love that. It'll be fun to listen back to.
But if it says Destroy All Monsters and it says All Monsters Attack, I'm going to take you at face value, Toho. Sure. You said All Monsters.
Sure.
So if Anguirus isn't there, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah. Are they lying? Maybe Anguirus, they don't destroy Anguirus, so he's able to survive, and then he becomes the hero of All Monsters Attack.
True. Or when they say destroy all monsters, they're like, well, Anguirus isn't a monster. He's a sweet little baby, so we're not going to destroy him.
Yeah, exactly.
God, who am I missing? The hawk? Or the falcon, or whatever that bird
condor,
is? Thank you, the condor.
One of those birds. One of those birds of prey.
That's right. There are also a bunch of bugs on that island. Those are not showing up.
I love this so much. I'm really excited to do Destroy All Monsters. It's coming out next week. Packed in so much. Oh my God. I just found one note about this movie that I forgot to mention.
Ooh.
The note says this movie is gay because they're all in the Navy.
Well, yeah.
There you go.
And I'm, for its one big massive flaw, I'm sure Moo is extremely queer.
Yeah, I think so too. Speaking of queer, if you like to find other queer creators to talk about media, Check out the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective at glitterjaw.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky at Glitterjaw and Instagram at GlitterjawPods. But Doug, if people want to find you and everything you're doing, where's the best place to do that?
You can find me all over the place at Ikybooley, ICKYBOOLEY, primarily on Blue Sky and Instagram, which I point out because I've been drawing monsters. And I guess I'm going to draw Manda for this one, I suppose.
Sure.
So, you know, I'm all over the place at Ikybooley. You can also listen to me on a podcast called Novel Gaming, where my friend Katie and I catch up on all the books, video games, and sometimes other media we've been enjoying lately. There's a Pixar movie out in June called Elio, so Falling with Style. We'll be dropping an episode on Elio, and Derek and I do a weekly podcast together called Walloping Web Snappers, where we dive into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. What about you?
Sure, you can find me most places at Derek B. Gale. In addition to what Doug just mentioned, the other podcasts I have include Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, where we look at Simpsons tie-in video games, as well as pop culture history and Simpsons history and video game history. And I also have Gimmicks, where we look at high concept and experimental and structure breaking episodes of television. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/wallopingwebsnappers if you'd like to support us. That's, of course, the name of our Spider-Man podcast, but it supports everything Doug and I do together. And also check out our Discord. There's a link to that in the show notes. We do have a specific channel dedicated to Skrionk. Email us at skrionkpodcast@gmail.com. And if you can, please rate, review, and subscribe on all your podcast platforms. It really helps us out. And join us next week. We're concluding Pride Month with the big gay monster mash on the 27th for the movie Destroy All Monsters.
Better be all monsters. See you then.
See ya.